You know, when you walk into a traditional art gallery, there's an unspoken contract between you and the artwork.
Right, the velvet rope.
Exactly. You stand securely behind the velvet rope. You look at the painting, and it just hangs there.
Yeah.
It is completely passive. It might be beautiful, it might move you emotionally, but physically, it is entirely harmless.
And that boundary is exactly why we find traditional aesthetic experiences so comforting, you know? We like our beauty to be contained within a frame.
Right.
It allows us to observe and appreciate a masterpiece without having any actual skin in the game. You are the observer, and the art is just the object.
But what happens when you step into the ocean and that velvet rope suddenly vanishes?
Oh, that's when things get interesting.
Right. You find yourself in an environment where the masterpiece doesn't just hang quietly on a wall. The art swims directly at you.
And to make matters worse, this particular piece of art has a terrifying temper.
It really does. Today on our deep dive, we're unpacking the ultimate oceanic paradox, based on an incredible text we have called The Art and Aggression of the Clown Triggerfish.
It is the absolute definition of a biological contradiction.
Okay, let's unpack this. We are looking at an animal that is universally described.
All right, let's dive in. Today, we're looking at a fish that is so out there. It seriously looks like it swam right off an artist's canvas. Just take a look at this. You've got to ask yourself, right? Is this the ocean just showing off? The colors, the patterns, it's a design that absolutely screams for your attention. So what in the world is this thing? Well, this right here is the clown triggerfish, and honestly, what a perfect name for a fish with this much personality and this kind of look. It's no wonder it's one of the most famous fish out there for aquarists. You can totally see why. Okay, so let's start with that incredible look. We're gonna unpack exactly why it got the name clown and what makes its appearance just so unforgettable. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is what marine biologists and divers say all the time. It's one of those fish that once you've seen it, you don't forget it. The pattern is that bold, that unmistakable. So, to really get a handle on this design, we've got to break it down into its key parts. Think of it like a little tour of the fish, starting right at its mouth and going all the way back to its tail. The whole idea behind this fish's look seems to be contrast. Nothing about this is subtle, right? It's a crazy mix of dark and light, solid blocks of color next to these super detailed patterns, all on one fish. Okay, let's get into the details. First, you've got the super dramatic black lower half that's covered in these huge, almost cartoonish white spats. Then, bam! Your eye is drawn right to its mouth, which has this bright yellow-orange ring. Kind of looks like lipstick, doesn't it? Then, the top half just completely switches gears to this intricate, net-like pattern of yellow and brown. And to top it all off, it's finished with a big splash of bright yellow on its tail. It's just an incredible combination. And get this, this isn't some tiny little fish hiding in the reef. No way. This guy can get up to 50 centimeters long. That's about 20 inches. Its body shape is what scientists call laterally compressed, which really just means it's tall and flat, kind of like a dinner plate swimming on its side. That's the classic triggerfish shape, and it's the perfect canvas for a design this wild. All right, so we've talked about how it looks, but now let's switch from form over to function. Because as stunning as this fish is, it's also a seriously effective survival machine. All those unique shapes and features, they are not just for show. They're part of a highly evolved toolkit. And the first tool we've got to talk about is the one that gives the whole family its name, the trigger. Now, this isn't just any old fin. It's an amazing defense mechanism. So when this fish feels threatened, it can just dart into a little crack in the reef and, well, lock itself in place. So here's how it works. It's super simple, but totally effective. That first big dorsal spine shoots up and just locks upright. A predator could grab its tail and pull all day long, but that fish is not coming out. The only way to release it is to push down on the second, much smaller spine right behind it. It's like a safety release switch, just a brilliant piece of natural engineering. But as cool as that trigger is, that's not its only tool. Not by a long shot. Its other major feature is right there at the front. Yeah, check out that mouth. Those aren't your typical fish teeth. They're actually fused together into a beak-like structure that is incredibly strong. Seriously, think of them like a pair of bone-crushing pliers. They're built for one job and one job only, to smash right through the hard shells of things like crabs, sea urchins, and clams. Okay, so we've seen the art, we've seen the engineering. Now let's just take a quick look at where this incredible creature fits into the bigger picture, the animal kingdom. So as you can see, it's in the family Bolistidae. That's the triggerfish family. So that awesome locking spine and that super powerful jaw, yep, those are family traits. Its official scientific name is Bolistoides conspiculum, which is a mouthful, but it also goes by another name that makes perfect sense, the big spotted triggerfish. And that really brings us back to where we started. When you look at the clown triggerfish, with its absolutely shocking patterns on one hand and its super functional tools on the other, what do you see? Is this nature being a flamboyant artist, or is it a master engineer who just happens to make function look beautiful? You know, maybe the real answer is it's both. And that's exactly what makes this fish so incredible. Okay, let's talk about one of the most drop-dead gorgeous fish you will ever see on a reef, the clown triggerfish. I mean, just look at it. But here's the thing. Don't let that almost painted look fool you for a second. Its personality is, let's just say it's not exactly clownish. And that's the real kicker, isn't it? That's the big question we're diving into today. How can a fish that looks like a masterpiece of modern art also be one of the toughest, most territorial brawlers in the entire ocean? It's a total paradox. So let's get into it. All right, first up, home on the edge. You know, to really get this fish, you've got to understand its turf. And believe me, it doesn't just live on the reef. It basically rules over a huge, demanding kingdom. And when I say huge, I mean it. We're not talking about some little neighborhood reef here. This fish's territory stretches all the way from the coast of East Africa and the Red Sea, across the entire Indian Ocean, and way out into the Pacific, from Japan all the way down to Australia. This fish is a true world traveler. And get this, it doesn't pick the quiet, easy spots. Nope. It sets up shop on the outer edges of the reef. Think steep drop-offs, tons of coral, and really strong currents. You've got to be tough to make a living there. It's the kind of place that forges a certain character. And just how deep does its kingdom go? Well, it patrols these slopes down to 75 meters. That's nearly 250 feet deep. So yeah, this fish is absolutely the master of its domain, top to bottom. Okay, next section, a brutal and brainy diet. So what do you think a fish this tough eats? Well, its menu tells you everything you need to know. It's not just about power, it's about brains too. This fish is a full-on carnivore, and it loves a challenge. We're talking sea urchins, crabs, clams, starfish, you name it. Basically, if something's got a hard shell or sharp spines to protect itself, the clown triggerfish is like, game on. It sees that as dinner. And how does it pull this off? With some serious hardware. Its jaw and teeth are like a hydraulic press. It can just bite straight through those tough shells and spines like they're nothing. Just crunch. But here's where the brainy part comes in. Take a sea urchin. It's basically a little spiky fortress, right? Well, the triggerfish doesn't just try to smash it. No, it's way smarter than that. It uses strategy. First, it isolates it. Then, it blasts a jet of water to flip the poor thing over. And then, it goes right for the soft, vulnerable belly. That is some next-level problem solving. Which brings us to its behavior. To survive on a diet like that in such a tough neighborhood, you've got to have a certain attitude. And this fish, well, it's an armed, territorial and solitary guardian. Yeah, you won't see these guys schooling together for safety. Adult clown triggerfish are total loners. And on a crowded reef, having your own patch of real estate is everything. It's not about being antisocial. It's about locking down your food and your shelter. This is their space, and they make sure everyone knows it. And this right here is how the triggerfish gets its name. See that big spine on its back? That's the trigger. When it's in danger, it darts into a crack in the rock and shoots that spine up. But here's the genius part. A second, smaller spine pops up and locks the big one in place. It's wedged in so tight that absolutely nothing can pull it out. Talk about the ultimate defense system. So you end up with this fish that's like two different creatures. During the day, it's all action, patrolling its territory, hunting, being its usual aggressive self. But come nighttime, it retreats to its hidey hole, locks itself in with that trigger spine, and becomes an impenetrable fortress. Day and night, totally different personalities. And when I say aggressive, I am not kidding. Divers know this fish well. It is absolutely fearless. If you swim into its territory, and I mean especially if there's a nest nearby, it's not going to give you a warning look. It will charge you. And yes, it will bite. So you might be thinking this fish is just a hothead. But what if all that aggression has a deeper purpose? Turns out that fierceness is all about protecting the next generation. I mean, look at the journey these little guys have to take. It starts with eggs laid in a little pit in the sand, totally exposed. The larvae that hatch then just drift out in the open ocean. And the tiny fraction that make it to the juvenile stage have to scramble to find shelter deep in the reef. It's an incredibly tough start to life. And that's exactly why the parents go into full-on warrior mode. The female plants herself right over the nest, guarding it like it's the most precious thing in the world, which, to her, it is. And the male, he patrols the perimeter like a bodyguard, taking on anything that gets too close. It's an amazing two-fish security team. So you see, that legendary temper isn't just a random personality quirk. It's everything. Without that hardcore, fearless protectiveness, the species probably wouldn't make it. The aggression isn't a bug, it's a feature. So let's wrap this up. What is the clown triggerfish? It's got the striking beauty, for sure. But it's also a brilliant hunter, an armed defender, and an unbelievably fierce parent. It really is the painted warrior of the reef. It really makes you think, doesn't it? That beautiful pattern isn't just for show. It's a warning label. It's a perfect reminder that in nature, looks can be deceiving, and sometimes the most beautiful things are also the most formidable. Kind of makes you wonder, what other secrets are hiding out there in plain sight?
So take a look at this. This is the clown triggerfish. I mean, it looks like a piece of living, breathing art, right? Like a painter's dream, just swimming around the reef. But you really can't let its name or its looks fool you, because behind that beautiful exterior is a powerful, aggressive beast. Today, we're going to dive deep into the paradox of this incredible painted warrior.
You know, there's a phrase that just sums this fish up perfectly. Beautiful, bold, and built like a tank. It just nails the contradiction at the heart of this fish. It's a stunning creature, for sure, but it's also an incredibly tough survivor with a serious attitude. And that mix, that duality, is what makes it so incredibly fascinating.
Okay, so first things first, let's talk about that incredible look. It's so easy to just think these vibrant patterns are all for show, but in nature, when something is this loud, you better believe it's sending a message. I mean, come on, just look at it. That bold black body, the huge white spots on its belly, the yellow-lined mouth that almost looks like a smile, and that splash of color on its back. You just can't miss it. This pattern has made it a total superstar in underwater photography and, of course, in aquariums.
So, you gotta ask, right? What's the deal with this dazzling outfit? Is it just trying to attract a mate, or is this fish yelling something much, much more serious to the entire reef?
Well, the answer has a fancy name, apositism.
It's the same idea as with poison dart frogs or monarch butterflies. Those bright, flashy colors, they're not an invitation to the party. They are a bright, flashing warning sign. The clown triggerfish is basically broadcasting to everyone, hey, I am not an easy meal. Attacking me is a really bad idea. And let me tell you, it has the hardware to back that threat up, 100%.
But, that beast persona isn't just about self-defense. This fish plays an absolutely crucial role in its ecosystem. You could almost call it an architect of the reef, with a very important full-time job.
So with those incredibly powerful teeth, it goes after hard-shelled critters like sea urchins and mollusks. And this is amazing, because it does two things at once. First, it keeps their populations in check, which stops them from totally overgrazing the coral. And second, every single time it crushes a shell, it's actually creating new sand and sediment for the reef. It's this wild cycle. It's a creator through destruction.
So, of course, a fish this stunning, people want to own one. It's a real prize for a lot of marine hobbyists. But bringing this painted warrior into a home aquarium, well, it's a challenge that, honestly, a lot of people just are not prepared for.
So, are you thinking this might look good as the centerpiece of your tank? It's a tempting thought. Who could blame you? But before you even go there, we have to be really clear about what you'd be signing up for. Okay, this report card really lays it all out. Its aggression level is, well, it's off the charts. It will bully and attack most other fish you even think about putting in there with it. And a beautiful coral setup? Yeah, you can forget about that. It'll treat your expensive corals and invertebrates like its own personal buffet. And while it is a tough fish, its special diet of hard-shelled foods is just another huge commitment. And then there's the space. We're talking a minimum of 500 liters, that's over 130 gallons, for just one of these guys as an adult. That is not a small commitment. It's a huge amount of space that needs to be healthy. And, okay, if all of that still hasn't scared you off, there's one last really crucial warning. And this isn't about the other fish in your tank. Nope, this is about you.
To put it simply, this fish bites, and we're not talking a little nip. Remember those teeth we talked about? The ones designed to crush rock-hard shells? Well, they can do a real number on a finger, easily drawing blood. You have to be incredibly careful whenever your hands are in that tank. Seriously, this is not a pet you can ever afford to be careless with.
So, how did this fish get to be such a tough-as-nails survivor? Let's dive into the incredible evolutionary toolkit it's packing. These are the adaptations that make it both a killer predator and a really, really difficult meal.
So, besides those flashy warning colors, what's its secret weapon? Well, if a bigger predator does decide to take a chance, the triggerfish has this incredible ace up its sleeve. Or, well, on its back, really.
And this is how it got its name. It has this thick, sharp spine on its back that it can pop up and lock into place. When it gets spooked, it'll dart into a little crack in the reef and click, it locks that spine up. It makes it totally impossible for a predator to pull it out. And if it's caught out in the open, that locked spine makes it almost impossible to swallow. It is an unbelievably effective defense. And get this, here's another brilliant adaptation. You see how its eyes are set way up high on its head, far away from its mouth? That is no accident. It's an evolutionary trick to protect its eyes from, say, the flailing claws of a crab or the sharp spines of a sea urchin while it's trying to eat it. It's such a simple design, but it's an absolute game changer.
And the cool stuff doesn't stop with its body either. These fish are actually really smart. Some divers swear they can be recognized by the same fish day after day. And they even talk. Well, kinda. They make these audible grunting sounds by grinding their teeth when they're alarmed or threatened. Alright, so we've seen the beauty, we've seen the beast, and we've looked at the amazing biology that ties it all together. So what's the bottom line for the clown triggerfish in our world today? Well, the good news is that on a global scale, its population is doing okay. It's listed as least concern. But, and this is a big but, that's not the whole story. In certain areas, it's facing some major local threats, from overfishing and, of course, from its huge popularity in the aquarium trade. It's a really powerful reminder that even the toughest critters out there aren't immune to our impact.
When you boil it all down, the clown triggerfish is just a perfect example of how complex nature really is, right? It's a destroyer, crushing shells, terrorizing its neighbors, but it's also a creator, literally building the sandy parts of the reef and keeping it all in balance.
And that really leaves us with one last thought. The clown triggerfish is a living lesson that, in nature, extreme beauty can often be a very serious warning sign. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? When we see that kind of vivid beauty in the wild, what's the warning we might be missing?